Good morning, everybody, and a happy Wednesday to you all, depending on when you're listening to this today. Well, I guess you could be listening to it tomorrow, since we are on the West Coast or in Las Vegas. It is a little bit of a later start time, so I guess maybe there's a little bit more consumption time. But regardless, nonetheless, whenever you're listening to this, hope you are having a good day. This is the Against the Grain pod, and the reason why I saved this one until the very end is because it's the only one of the three short-form podcasts that I do for the weekly Awesemo Golf podcast series that can actually change the information given in it drastically. So it's reason why I wait until the very end, and it's a good thing that I do, or I did, especially this week with Tony Finau, who was expected to be maybe the fifth or sixth highest owned golfer on the slate, has now withdrawn from the tournament, which obviously shakes up ownership and who's going to be owned quite a bit in this endeavor. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in and talk about the top 10 projected from Awesemo.com, as I always start off the Against the Grain podcast, with a little bit of the top 10 projected from Awesemo. And of course, if you're looking for all of them, you want to see the entire field's ownership projections. Of course, that is part of our premium package here at Awesemo Plus, just $8.95 for the week, $29.99 for the month, and you get all of the ownership projections and just so much more too, not just ownership projections. You're going to get the top golfers tool from Awesemo. You're going to get my model that gives you pretty much every bit of information that you could ever dream of when you're looking up information for DFS golf, and I give it to you in all one convenient spot in the model. So if you haven't joined us, come on over and join us now. It is a great time to do so, especially with the Masters not too far away, just under a month now, just over a month now. So, okay, let's move on now to, the top 10. I kind of teased it there for a little bit. And remember, this has Tony Finau in it still. Awesemo has not quite updated it. He'll probably update. I'm recording this at 8:45 in the morning. So he'll probably update it in about an hour. He's on Central Time, so maybe just about an hour behind me. Okay, so at the top, Webb Simpson. He's coming in close to 25%. Bryson DeChambeau close to 20%. Hideki Matsuyama is going to be over 20% now as a direct beneficiary of Tony Finau being out. Patrick Cantlay likely gets over 20% as well. He was projected 18. I suspect he'll get like one or two of the Tony Finaus. Colin Morikawa used to be 17%. He's now over 20% as the 15% from Tony Finau. I've got it broken down into 5% going to Matsuyama, 3% going to Patrick Cantlay, 3% going to Colin Morikawa, 3% going to Harris English, and 3% going to Matthew Wolff. So that's going to bring Harris English ownership up to about 18%, and it should bring Matthew Wolff's ownership above 15%. Then, rounding out the top 10 there, it's going to be Scotty Scheffler. He's coming in at 15% owned. He was just 27% owned and the highest golfer at 11,400. So him coming in around 15% makes total sense. And the last two, Louis Oosthuizen, 14%. And the gaming world seems like they cannot quit on Ricky Fowler. He's $9,000 and coming in expected at 14% and hasn't done anything for anybody in quite a while. But he's, I guess, much more likable than Jordan Spieth. So the propensity for gamers to roster him is obviously quite high. Okay, let's keep on marching along here. And first, now, with the pricing being a little different that DraftKings is doing, they're only giving us 4 golfers this week above 10,000. So typically I'm going to have 4 pricing breakdowns. The 10,000 and above, the 9,000 to 8,000 range, the 7,000 range, and then below 7,000. But because DraftKings isn't giving us that many golfers above 10,000 now, what I'm doing is I'm putting the top 10 salaried golfers into one category. Then I'm going to put the next 20 in, and then I have the bottom tier. So I'm doing 3 tiers instead of 4 tiers. So really not all that much different. Okay, let's start off with the top 10 salaried golfers here. Well, I guess it's 9 now because we took out Tony Finau, but they're going to come in right around 150% ownership for the 9 golfers. So, well over 15% projected ownership per golfer, but we're going to have probably one. I'm going to say only one golfer that's going to get below 10% this week. That's going to be Jason Day up here. Jason Day had a great stretch of golf through the restart, but has definitely regressed over the last little bit now. as he has just not played well. His irons is what was helping him through the long stretch of good golf, but those have seemingly, or that I should say, has seemingly disappeared, and the rest of the starts just haven't been good. His putter has come back, but the last couple of starts with his approaches, a loss of 3 at the Northern Trust, a loss of 2 at the BMW, and a loss of 1.2 per round at the U.S. Open. So no surprise to see him below 10% here. I would expect that that's not going to change even with the withdrawal of Tony Finau. Okay, in addition to him, we've got basically everybody else around 15%. Now with Tony Finau dropping out, it's going to create quite an even spread amongst these guys. For example, like Webb Simpson and Bryson DeChambeau, sure, we already mentioned they're going to be over 20%. But then we get Hideki Matsuyama, Patrick Cantlay, Colin Morikawa, Harris English, and Matthew Wolff. I suspect all of those guys, as I said before, to be the beneficiaries of Tony Finau's ownership. So I expect all of them over 15% this week, with just, like I said, Jason Day under 10. Scotty Scheffler coming in right around 15%. Now we go into this middle tier. We've got 25 golfers this week. We had 25 last week as well. Maybe a little bit more spread out ownership here, just with the breadth of names, and there are a ton of them here this week. So we've got Louis Oosthuizen and Ricky Fowler here at the top, coming in right around 12 to 15%. Sung Jae Im is next, 10% owned. He was just 10,520 plus percent owned the previous week, so no surprise to see gamers stick with him, even though he had a good Sunday, but didn't really have a good week other than that. Brian Harmon. Brian Harmon hasn't missed a cut in quite some time and has a couple of good starts here, so no surprise to see him around 10%. Joaquin Niemann also around 10%. Paul Casey, 9,200, probably the reason why he's not coming in projected over 10%, but I suspect he will once lock happens. Then we've probably got a little bit of a break. I've got the next batch of golfers coming in between 7 and 10%. Matt Kutcher, 7,600, the cheapest price for him we've seen in a while. Cameron Davis also coming in off of 2 good starts. He's still at $8,200. He's going to be around 7% owned this week instead of 25% owned. Jason Kokrak, he's coming in around 8% owned as well. He's 8,900 this week in this field, coming off a pretty good performance at the U.S. Open and a good stretch of golf. So Jason Kokrak, 8,900, 7% owned. A couple more guys. Howard Varner, he's 7,500 in that, I'll call it, range of value that people like to go to. So he's projected at 7%, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that come in a little bit higher. Sebastian Munoz, he is 7% as well. Will Zalatoris, Abraham Answer, J.T. Poston, Siwoo Kim, and Doc Redman, all trending towards that 7% owned range. And no surprise, because all those guys have been chalk recently, but now that they're all here in the field together, priced relatively similar, no surprise to them to see their ownership break out pretty evenly. Now, though, once you get under Doc Redman, we should have some opportunities to get golfers at 5% owned or less. Guys like Cameron Smith, who have been on a run lately and have a good start here, could definitely be in play. Russell Henley, he hasn't played in the last 4 or 5 weeks, but before that, he was playing some great golf. Sergio Garcia, obviously coming in off of a win. Don't suspect more than 5% of the gamers to play him this week. Denny McCarthy, he's one of those guys that may be playing a little bit out of his element right now, playing some really good golf, couple of top 10s in the last couple of starts. He's coming in at 5%. Charlie Hoffman in is as well, kind of along that same line as Denny McCarthy, playing some good golf right now. Cameron Champ, also 5%. Then we get the 3 lowest owned guys. Kevin Na, the defending champion of the event, 8,600. Price is dictating these. Zach Johnson, 8,500. He's going to be 4% owned. And last week's leader going into the weekend, Keegan Bradley, he's up at 8,000 this week and likely to be somewhere around 3 to 4% owned. Okay, now we'll go on to our bottom tier where we've got 105 golfers, and typically when we have 105 golfers, I'll say, maybe we'll have 150% ownership, but nope, not here this week. We're going to have 260% ownership, roughly coming from this section, which is about 7,400 and below. The top golfers that are going to be owned the most, probably close to 10%, will be Ryan Palmer and Kevin Strewman. I have them projected pretty far above everybody else in this range, 2 or 3% above the next guy, who I suspect will be Christopher Ventura, who, was $9,000 in chalk at the Corrales, was $7,200 last week and mildly owned, and came in the top 10. So now he is here at $7,100 here this week. probably about 10%. Brendan Steele, Patrick Rogers, Lanto Griffin are the next guys I have projected. Maybe Patrick Rogers after the miscut comes down a bit, but his price has come down significantly, so that's why people are jumping back in. But Brendan Steele, Lanto Griffin both played some pretty good golf. When Joel Damon in this field gets down in these low sevens, he's always ends up a little bit chalkier than projected. The projections, not ownership projections, but golfer projections, always have him a little bit higher. So no surprise to see his ownership kind of spike up. Next two guys, Luke List and Sam Burns. Both were playing really good golf, but both did not have a great week last week. Although Luke List missed an 8-footer to make the cut. So had he had done that, I'm sure we'd be talking quite differently about him right now. But we aren't. Both of them are going to come in around 5 to 6%. A bunch of other guys still going to be owned over 5% in this section. Pat Perez, Ches Reavie. Xingzun Zhang, he goes from 8,100 and relatively chalky to 6,600. That's why I suspect 5% ownership will still transcend there. A couple of other guys, Adam Hadwin, Emiliano Grillo, Cameron Tringale, Dylan Fratelli, all going to be owned over 5%. Now, though, and as well as Henrik Norlander and Maverick McNeely. A couple of guys, though, that I suspect will be around 5% owned, but certainly less. Well, I shouldn't say certainly less, but likely to be less than 5%. Carlos Ortiz, Brian Stewart, Aaron Wise. Even after one good start, I still suspect at 7,400, Aaron Wise won't be above 5% owned. Taylor Gooch, 6,800. He could creep up there. Byung-Hyun An, 7,100. Sepp Straka, Richie Wierenski coming in at close to 4%. Tyler McCumber, back-to-back really good starts. I don't think, though, that gamers are ready to trust that for 5% owned. Adam Schenk, he's been chalky the last 2 weeks. Not this week, though. I've got him coming in at 4%. Stuart Sink as well. Brant Snedeker, Scott Piercy, Hudson Swafford, all coming in around 3% owned. Now, still plenty of golfers. I see Harry Higgs as my next guy that is on the projected list. We still got 71 golfers, but the total ownership between them is only about 84%, so not a lot here left. But a couple guys, Harry Higgs, Justin Hadley, Mark Hubbard, Russell Knox, Scott Stallings, Nick Taylor, Tom Lewis, all coming in under 5%, maybe even under 3%. And then Francesco Molinari. I guess people want to do the wait-and-see approach. Probably a better choice, to be honest with you. I'll play him in some lineups, especially the fact that he's only going to be 2% owned and he's a former major champion. We don't know anywhere where his game is. Nobody's seen him play golf for almost 9 months. So he could win. And at 2% owned, 6,700, we'll all be kicking ourselves for not playing him. That's why I will have him at least in a couple of my GPP lineups. A couple of more guys that I'll mention here. Kyle Stanley, Keith Mitchell, Matthew Neesmith, Max Homa, James Hahn, and Martin Laird, all going to be under 5%, probably closer to 2% when this all wraps up. All right, so the Tony Finau withdrawal certainly throws a wrench into some of these plans here. And, of course, if you're looking for some of my top plays that I have that are against the grain, go check out my article up on Awesemo.com. It's free each and every week, and this is where I give you pretty much kind of what I just went over here in the last 14 or so minutes, but then I also give you my top picks in each section for the against the grain pick, so we can try and differentiate our lineup. So, until next time, everybody, I think this week I'm at 53 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. My math is okay this week. 26 plus 14 plus 14 is about 54 minutes, so under an hour for the Awesemo Golf Weekly podcast series, and this is the Against the Grain pod. So if you're looking for more, and it's Wednesday evening, and it's not 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, then come check out the Live Before Lock show with Ben Raza, and I will be rocking it out tonight, back at our normal time slot, 8:30 tonight. I don't think that there's anything getting in the way. I know we have I know last week we had the NBA, but it looks like, I believe the NBA is now on their game is Friday, right? So no problem there for us to go on our normal time slot, 8:30 tonight. So look forward to seeing you all then. And until then, good luck this week if you don't end up making it. And of course, thank you for coming by the Against the Grain pod, and we will see you on the other side. Cheers, everybody.